Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
All right, get ready, because today we're diving into something that sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Picture this, the guy who's sending rockets to Mars and, trying to connect our brains to computers.
Okay, I'm following.
Now imagine him, Elon Musk, trying to make the U.S. government more efficient.
Whoa, that's a pretty wild thought.
It is, right? And that's what we're exploring in this deep dive.
So where are we getting all this from?
We've got some interesting articles from CNN Business, The Guardian, and BBC News, all talking about this.
Interesting mix.
They all dig into this idea that former President Trump has put out there.
About a government efficiency commission.
Yeah, exactly. And he wants Musk to lead it if he wins in 24.
Okay, so let's get down to it. What are we really trying to understand here?
Well, the big question is, what could happen if we put someone like Musk with his, shall we say, unique style?
Right, his very distinct way of doing business.
Yeah, in charge of the entire federal government.
So essentially, what are the potential consequences?
Exactly. And we really want to zero in on those potential conflicts of interest. Because Musk isn't just any CEO.
Yeah, he's got his hands in some pretty big pies.
Right. SpaceX, Neuralink, these companies are deeply connected to the U.S. government.
Absolutely. I mean, SpaceX relies on government contracts for those big space programs.
Think about it, sending people to Mars.
And then you've got Neuralink dealing with all those FDA regulations for their brain-computer tech.
So it's all intertwined,
Right, a real tangled web. So if he's trying to streamline the government, would his own companies benefit?
That's the real dilemma here, right?
It is, because on one hand, you could argue that his drive and that whole Silicon Valley innovation thing
Could be just what the government needs.
yeah, shake things up, get rid of all the red tape,
Got through the bureaucracy.
find some truly out-of-the-box ways to make the government run smoother.
But, there's another side to this.
Oh, definitely. His critics are pretty vocal.
They point to his, well, let's call it his unconventional management style.
And his track record with following regulations. I mean, CNN Business has some pretty striking examples.
They highlight what happened to X, formerly Twitter. Remember all those mass layoffs?
Yeah, something like 80% of the workforce gone.
And according to CNN, it hasn't been pretty.
Product quality took a hit. There's more hate speech, more misinformation.
And this all happened under Musk's watch.
And then there's the whole Tesla full self-driving situation.
Accidents, investigations, even recalls.
But he just keeps pushing it, even with all those safety concerns.
So if that's how he operates in his own companies,
What could that mean for how he might reshape the entire government?
that's the million-dollar question. And it gets even trickier when you factor in the political side of things.
The Guardian really digs into that whole Musk-Trump dynamic.
It's more than just tweets and online banter, right?
Way more. He's publicly endorsed Trump's campaign. He's told his followers to vote Republican.
And his allies have reportedly poured millions into pro-Trump super PACs.
So we're seeing this real blurring of the lines between business, politics.
And potentially how the government actually works.
It makes you wonder, is this really about making the government more efficient? Or is there something else going on?
Yeah, could it be about using the government to push a certain political agenda?
That's a valid concern, for sure.
Let's shift gears for a second and look at another possible conflict of interest.
Go for it.
Musk has talked about giving generous severance packages to government employees.
To those who might get laid off because of these efficiency measures.
Right, so on the surface, that sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right?
2 years of severance pay? Yeah, that's pretty good.
But CNN Business throws a little wrench in that narrative.
Oh, how so?
They point out that Musk has been sued multiple times for not honoring severance packages.
For employees he laid off from X,
So he's promising these generous packages to government workers.
while potentially leaving his own former employees high and dry.
Yeah, that's true.
It raises some red flags about his trustworthiness.
Can he really be trusted to keep his word when people's livelihoods are at stake?
Exactly, that's the question.
So we've got potential conflicts of interest everywhere we look.
A track record that's, well, let's just say it's raising eyebrows.
And a whole political dimension that's just adding fuel to the fire.
No wonder people are worried about what this commission could actually mean in practice.
Absolutely. And you know what? We're just scratching the surface here.
There's another whole layer to this when we think about how this could affect the government workers themselves.
You mean the people who'd actually be dealing with all these efficiency measures?
Exactly. Let's dive into that next.
Oh.
Okay, picture this. You're a government employee. You've been working in public service, trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's talk of Elon Musk coming in to shake things up.
A man known for, well, let's just say, a very different way of doing things.
Exactly. And it's not just about potential layoffs. It's about a possible cultural shift.
So how could Musk change the way the government works day to day?
Well, government work is all about, collaboration,
Right?
consensus building,
Working within a system.
lots of regulations, procedures.
Not exactly known for being, like, fast-paced or cutting edge.
Right, the opposite of Musk's world.
So some experts are worried that his style could clash with the whole idea of public service.
Yeah, it's a potential culture clash.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Musk is obsessed with efficiency, speed, disrupting everything.
Right, that's his thing.
And sometimes those are great qualities,
Yeah.
but government work often needs a different approach.
You're saying there could be a clash of values.
Exactly. A lot of government employees are drawn to public service.
That sense of duty.
But if efficiency becomes the top priority,
Could that lead to a less idealistic approach?
a more transactional one, maybe?
And how would that affect morale?
Imagine you're a scientist working on an important research project.
Okay.
Suddenly your funding gets slashed, or your project is labeled inefficient.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt.
It could kill innovation, stifle creativity.
And what about trust?
That's a big one. The Guardian talked about how Musk's ties to Trump are making people nervous.
Because it seems like this whole efficiency push could be about something else entirely.
Advancing a political agenda,
Right, and if government workers feel like they're being used,
like pawns in a political game.
that could really damage trust in the whole system.
And a government that's seen as unfair or biased, well, it just can't function effectively.
It all kind of spirals, doesn't it?
It does. And remember, we've talked about conflicts of interest, Musk's track record, how this affects workers.
The political side of things.
But there's another potential implication, and it ties directly back to our focus on conflicts of interest.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
It's about how we define efficiency, especially when it comes to the government.
So how do you define it then?
In business, efficiency often means bigger profits and lower costs.
Right, bottom line.
But government is different.
It's not about making money,
Exactly. Its goal is to serve the public good.
which might mean spending money on things that don't necessarily have a clear return on investment.
Like scientific research or helping people in need.
So if Musk brings his business definition of efficiency to the government,
He might cut essential programs and services.
and that raises some big ethical questions.
Absolutely. Who decides what's essential? What are the long-term consequences of those cuts?
To things like education, healthcare, the environment.
Those are heavy questions.
There's a lot at stake here, that's for sure.
There is, and that's why it's so important to talk about these things openly and honestly.
So let's hear from you, the listener. What are your thoughts on all this?
Are you worried about these potential conflicts of interest? Or do you think Musk could actually be a good thing for the government?
We want to hear your perspective.
And as you think about this, here's something else to consider. Musk's companies, especially SpaceX, are known for pushing boundaries.
They do things people thought were impossible, like landing rockets vertically.
Exactly. So could he bring that same innovative spirit to the government? Could he find new solutions to old problems?
It's an interesting idea.
Maybe there's a way to have both efficiency and public service.
Now let's switch gears one last time and talk about those severance packages Musk has mentioned. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we've talked about how this could impact government workers, the potential clash of cultures.
And the whole ethical cushion of what efficiency even means in the context of government.
Right.
But let's circle back to something more concrete.
Those severance packages?
Exactly, because on the surface, offering 2 years of severance pay to government employees who might be laid off,
Yeah.
it sounds pretty generous, right?
It does, but remember, we talked about those CNN business reports.
About Musk being sued for not honoring severance packages at X.
Exactly, so it makes you wonder if he'd actually follow through on those promises if he was in charge of government reforms.
It's like saying, trust me, I'll take care of you.
Yeah.
But having a track record of not always doing that,
Right, it creates this uncertainty, this anxiety, especially for those government workers who might be worried about their jobs.
so where does this leave us? What are the big takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that this whole idea of Musk leading a government efficiency commission is a really complicated issue.
It's not a simple yes or no.
There are potential benefits like his innovative thinking and his focus on results.
But there are also some serious risks, especially when it comes to those potential conflicts of interest.
Yeah, we can't ignore those.
And I think it's important to remember that efficiency isn't a magic bullet.
What works in the business world doesn't always translate to the government.
Exactly. And we need to be careful about applying a purely business mindset to something as complex as the U.S. government.
It's just not that simple.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we really encourage you to keep thinking about this,
Do your own research, talk to people, form your own opinions.
because ultimately the future of our government affects all of us.
It does. It's something we all have a stake in.
And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the potential implications of Elon Musk leading a government efficiency commission.
It's been a fascinating discussion.
Until next time, stay curious.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.